Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by the movie Hangout. Star Wars huts should never ever be CGI. That is the topic of this video. But before I jump into this hilarious mishap by Disney, click the subscribe button, comment, like. I'd really appreciate it. All right, let's jump into this. So, if you've been watching the Book of Boba Fett, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So right here, I went over to Screen Crush, and I mean, right off the bat, you can see the red flags. I'm not even going to get in the article just yet. Just the picture, the initial picture is so ridiculous and disturbing. So here you have in the front, these are clearly human beings. These are extras dressed up in a wardrobe, clearly real people. And then you have what are supposed to be huts. I mean, they don't even look remotely real. And when I mean real, they don't even look like objects that actually exist in the same space. They look like kind of like cartoon piles of you know what, like it's I mean, it's just amazing how CGI really it's just never going to be up to what real practical effects like just a styrofoam painted puppet is always going to be better than CGI. But look at this. I mean, I it's just so it's so it's embarrassing. I mean, okay, so let's get into this. This week's episode of the Book of Boba Fett introduced two new characters to the series cast, a pair of corpulent alien crime lords from the race known as the Hutts, cousins of the notorious Jabba the Hutt. They are carried along on a sagging throne by a legion of footmen. They demand the return of the relatives' criminal empire, which is now controlled by Boba Fett. Which that's like a really interesting storyline. I think that's a great idea when it comes to storytelling. He refuses. A few thinly veiled threats are exchanged, and the Hutt's retreat to parts unknown. It should be one of the pivotal moments in the episode, but something about it feels off. I wonder what that could be. The twins don't look real, yet they look like cartoons, and they seem disconnected from the space that Boba Fett is in, probably because they're not real. It's not like a conversation between three people. At every moment, you are hyper aware that you're watching a man interact with special effects and not especially convincing ones. Um, so let's go on down here. So in the past, if you remember, this is from Star Wars: A New Hope. So this is from Episode 4. Now, when this was re-released in 1997, there was a scene here that George Lucas had cut out, and George Lucas had edited it back in, but he added a really bad CGI version of Jabba the Hutt. But that was in 1997. That was 25 years ago, a quarter century ago, so people excused it. So that's this right here. That's what that looks like. Pretty bad, right? I mean, it looks like a Nintendo 64 video game graphic. And then he had the Hutts again in episode 1, a little bit better than 97, but still, I mean, it does not look like the original. And then, so this is the video game right here. I mean, we can expect that not to look real. But then, if you look right here, at the bottom right, this is from Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And this was in the early 80s. Look at how amazing this looks. I mean, his eyes look real. You can see just how the light hits um, the irises and the pupils there. You can tell that it just looks so much better. The contour of his skin, you can tell he really exists in that space. So when the actors are acting and they're talking to, basically this giant puppet, they don't have to not only pretend that this creature is like a real creature, they don't have to pretend that there's even just like a couch or something in that space because there literally is something that they're looking at. With this stuff, I mean, In reality, this is all green screen. There's an actor here, actors here, and then there's nothing here. This doesn't exist. Same with this. This doesn't even exist in that space. Look at how great this looks from Return of the Jedi. I mean, they rub like jelly Vaseline on his chin there to make it look like he's drooling. Even though this is rubber, it still looks so much better. Let's see. I'm sure the digital effects are easier and less expensive than prosthetics and puppetry in 2021, but Lucasfilm clearly understands the value of practical monsters. Do you think? The Book of Boba Fett features characters like Jennifer Beals, Garza Fwip. I'm not even going to even try to pronounce these. Tusken Raiders, all achieved practically in this episode with makeup and costumes. Next to these impressive creations, the Hutt twins look that much more artificial. And look, and that's totally true too, because if you're going to go practical effects, and what I mean by practical effects, not CGI, special effects uh, would be mostly CGI now. But if you're going to go, costumes, puppets, you might as well just go all out costumes and puppets. Because if you do half and half, especially with creatures, it looks horrible. What they should have done was they should have had giant puppets here. They wouldn't even have to show the whole thing, like do like a super far away shot and then do close-ups with a real puppet. And the background, they could do that like a green screen or a blue screen, that's fine. We don't really care that much about that. For whatever reason, backgrounds, when they're like green screened, they look, acceptable in comparison to having like a real set. People will accept that. But what doesn't look good is when you have a fake background and then you also have fake creatures there too, because it's almost like our brain only accepts so much uh, artificial stuff, until it just totally is like, I'm over this. But hopefully they go back to um, just having a lot more practical effects and less CGI, because that's the magic of Star Wars, of the original Star Wars. Anyways, thanks for listening. And as always, if you want to get future rants, reviews, or original content, click subscribe. Later.